Live from Gil Silva Family Studio in Salinas, California, the salad bowl of the world. Welcome to the podcast designed to inspire, the only one built with ganas.
You're gonna work harder than you ever worked before. And the only thing I ask from you is ganas, desire, a haircut. If you don't have the ganas, I will give it to you because I'm an expert.
From the founders of Gil Basketball Academy that empowers youth to play hard, work hard, study hard, and overcome obstacles.
People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period.
Real interviews with real people about real life.
You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
And now it's time for Ganas, leading from the heart.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Ganas, leading from the heart. I am Jose Gil, coach, teacher, father, husband, and a lifelong believer in ganas, which translates to desire. Today on the show, we have a special guest, special to me because he's a local legend, grew up in our area, the Salinas Valley, had the privilege to coach him in basketball until we were convinced that he was a better soccer player than basketball player. And I remember that day when the coach walked into the gym, David. It's a pivotal point in my life, and I always tell this story to people, but that sometimes you got to follow your heart and follow your dreams and your passion. So with no further ado, we welcome David Estrada, former MLS player and current USL player, professional soccer player, local icon and role model. David, welcome to our podcast.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Coach Gil. And I think I probably have a lot of stories about playing basketball and how much I love that game. And one of the reasons why I fell in love with that game is because of the House of Thrills, right? The atmosphere that you've created for players there to thrive, and not only in the sport, but, you know, to become good people. For me, that was something that stayed with me. And it's something that as I look to what I want to do after soccer, coaching is something that I'm very interested in. And I hope that I can have a similar impact like you've had in the Salinas community. So thank you for having me first.
Yeah, David, we have so much to talk about. And for all our podcast listeners, you are going to really enjoy this interview because we are not only dealing with arguably one of the top soccer players to ever play in our area, and the Salinas Valley, the Salad Bowl, as they call it, has had many great players, and David, you are up there with them. And can you please tell us a little bit about yourself? Let's talk about your upbringing, your family, education, your career, so that our listeners can get to know you a little bit better.
Well, my parents immigrated to Salinas, California when I was about 4 months old. And I grew up in Salinas, California, in the east side my whole life. And I played soccer, organized soccer since I was 5 years old. One of the reasons why I fell in love with the game was because I'd always go and watch my dad on the weekends, right? We never went for trips. We never went for outings or whatever, but we did go out to watch them play. And it was a whole family gathering because my uncles and cousins played for this team. And so that's how I kind of fell in love with the game.
What team was that, David? And this is usually on Sundays, right? In the Sunday league.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
What team did Dad play for?
And I think one of the coolest things that I can say is that I got the opportunity to play with my dad on the same team, and it's Deportivo Armando Mora. And I got to play with a lot of good friends.
That's right.
That same team, I made lifelong friends, and that's one of the main reasons why I love the game. And to this day, when I step out on the field, I think I carry those memories every time. And so I still love the game. I play it like if I was playing in my backyard. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I've continued to push forward, even when people have told me that maybe, you should probably stop. But I believe in myself a lot more than the people that doubted in me. And I think that kind of is a reflection of the ganas that you speak of, is you have to push through if you really believe in your ability and you put the work in, and you make the sacrifices and you put in the work. That's what it takes to be successful and to continue doing what you love. And yeah, man, at Alisal, I was able to score 66 goals. I got 2 scholarship offers to San Jose State and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, but then UCLA offered a walk-on opportunity, and I've always been one to want to be at the best environment to get better, and so I chose to walk on at UCLA. And from there, I went to the Seattle Sounders, and I played there in MLS for 5 years. And last 5 years, I played in USL. And currently, I'm playing for New Mexico United of the USL. So that's been a little bit of my trajectory with soccer.
Yeah, and speaking of your parents and your father, I know that he planted the seed in you as a young kid to play a sport that he knew himself. He felt comfortable himself playing in, and I remember your dad was a phenomenal player himself as well. And as a kid, I can relate because as a kid, we grew up watching Sunday games with my dad and going to watch our local team from Mexico that was here, Chavinda, el equipo Chavinda. So every Sunday it was an outing. It was like you said, a family outing. We'd go and blankets on the grass, and it would be a whole afternoon game, and the environment and the culture. And so I think that's what our parents, that's what they knew, right? That's their way of, like you said, not many family outings, right? But maybe they didn't know, maybe they couldn't. They worked so much themselves. So now that we're older, we could reflect back and say, well, that was their way of giving back and creating a nurturing environment for us to say, okay, we're spending family time, quality time together, right? And
the other thing I will say is like that I kind of like when you talk about the effect that my dad had on me in terms of just when you talk about ganas, is this man would work 12, 10 hours in the fields, and every Tuesday and Thursday, without missing a beat, we'd go and train. And I'd go and train with him, kick the ball around with his team. And so that exposed me to play with like older men. And so for me, that was a part of my development. And I don't think about it too much, but in a sense, that's something that helped me to kind of like push me to think that I can be better. Even at my young age, I was playing with older men, and to be able to see the commitment that they had by just training twice a week after working long hours, to me, that showed me that they had a love for the game. And that's something that stayed with me till this day.
And that commitment, let's speak on that, because this is very important, that we live in an area where predominantly farm working laborers, campesinos, as we call them, that break their backs to put food on the table for the world. We're the salad capital of the world here. And our parents are the heroes for actually getting up before the sun comes out and getting home when the sun's coming down, right? Sunset to sunrise, sunrise to sunset. And right now they are going through this, they're working through this pandemic. They're working through all these local fires that are contaminating the air. And I know many of our family members, right, are still struggling out there, but that's what they have to do to put food on the table for us and for their kids. So props to them, right?
Yeah, man. And I think when you think about, again, like I'll touch on it every opportunity I get, like these people have ganas, they come here to provide a better life for their kids, and they'll put their own health
yes,
education, man. And so to think that they're out there right now smoking breathing in some of this like terrible like smoke with the fires that are going on right now, I'm always mindful of where I came from. And I just want to, if we're able to kind of bring awareness to this issue, I know everybody knows that it's happening, but to my friends, to my family, if you guys can donate your time, donate some resources to local organizations, like we need them. And it's a time to really be mindful of those people that are going out there and providing these foods, these essential foods for us. And yeah, you just gotta
Definitely
supporting one another.
pay it forward. Yes. Where did the nickname Samurai come from?
And it's a really, I think in our family, you're always gonna have a nickname growing up. And that's the one that just stuck with me. And I have a bunch of uncles that have a bunch of different nicknames, and there's always stories behind them, but you never really can confirm like where it came from. But it's funny because I played with kids outside of Salinas, and they thought my name was Samurai. Like they didn't know my name was. And so like this name has stuck with me throughout my whole life. And I think the first time I was able to kind of get away from it was at UCLA when like no one knew who I was. And so like it stuck with me. And sometimes I was a little bit embarrassed by it because like kids from like elementary school, my cousins, I go with them, they'd call me Samurai, and I'd be like, call me Samurai. And like, you know, just one of those things where now I'm very like, I'm happy that that's a cool nickname to have. Like,
Yes.
like I tie it to like the Bushido code, the way of self-discipline and commitment, like you said. And so that's how I kind of like tie it to like the Samurai.
Interesting. So I touched upon it earlier, but I'm going to get back to it. When you were a freshman and you walked into the gym, and I remember we had open gym and we were getting ready for season, and you were like, Coach, I want to play basketball, and you know, and I knew of you as a soccer player, but at the same time, you're a freshman, something okay. And then you told me the story about, you know, you've been playing all your life, and it's time I want to play basketball. And I was like, okay, I like this kid, you know, very respectful, very confident, very determined. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah.
And then I remember the soccer coach coming to talk to me and say, you know what, you got Samurai. I'm like, who? Samurai, he's out here playing basketball and he needs to be on the soccer field. And that's where, you know, I'm like, okay, but, you know, the kid wants to play basketball and I'll support him, whatever sport he wants to play, but we'll talk to him. Well, I already did, and he doesn't want to. And so long story short, we made a deal. Okay, let him play a game, and then I'll let you borrow him for a game in soccer and let's see how he does. And I remember you scored 10 goals, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And
Well, it was like
the rest was history.
Yeah, man. Well, like I actually ended up playing freshman basketball over varsity soccer.
Yes.
So Jesus Sanchez, the coach at the time for the soccer team, was like, I remember he called me into the office, and I think you might have been there, like, hey, you should really play soccer. And I already had made up my mind that I wanted to play basketball.
Yes.
And so I when I committed to basketball, I put all my time and energy to it, and I really love the game. And to this day, every chance I get, I'll go out and shoot the basketball.
I see that. Yes, I see that.
I love the game, man. And but like you said, like I followed my heart. Like I felt like I just needed kind of like a break in terms of just sports in high school.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I was still playing for my club team. I was still playing, not my club team, but like for the city team.
Yes.
So I felt like I was still going to be playing a lot of soccer, and high school wasn't really going to be adding anything more to it.
Yes.
But yeah, obviously, like you said, after the 3 years that I played at Alisal, I think we made some amazing memories and created a little bit of history in those 3 years.
So reflecting back, instead of playing in the MLS, you probably could have been in the NBA, right? I mean,
I believed in myself. Say like if maybe not NBA, maybe like summer league or whatever, but like I think I'm quick enough and fast enough that I would have like done something, whether it even play like Cardinal College. Like
yes.
I think that's admirable if you're able to continue to play in another level after high school, because it means you really dedicated your life, and those like opportunities are not just handed to anyone. You really have to earn them.
Definitely. So now you followed your heart, you know, and once again, like our podcast, you led with your heart. You turned down a couple of scholarships to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, my alma mater, San Jose State, and you wanted to be at UCLA, and you wanted to walk out. And, you know, that drive, that determination to be at a school like UCLA playing soccer, and yet you overcame all the obstacles, right? Barriers that may have existed. And I just remember that moment when you made the team, and next thing you know, you're on ESPN, and it was an early game. You score a goal, and we're watching, and we're like, he made it. He made it. You know, you had the whole city here cheering for you, rooting for you. How was that feeling? And can you share some of your most gratifying moments at UCLA?
Yeah, man. Well, I really remember the difficult moments, because I think back, and like those difficult moments were probably just as low as the high moments in terms of just kind of like being super happy to super like sad. And so one of the most difficult moments, I will say, was when I had to call my parents and tell them that I needed tuition money to pay for the school, because I had lied to them about getting financial aid, because I got admitted in so late, I wasn't able to submit a FAFSA. And so
wow.
the cause was to call them and tell them that I needed like $3,000 to pay for tuition, or else I wasn't going to be able to dress. And, you know, talking to my mom and my dad, I could hear my dad, you know, that expression where they go, I could hear it. And I was talking to my mom, and so I could hear my dad, and that just kind of like really hit me like in my heart, like it really tugged my heart. And I remember hanging up and like crying. And like, I told myself in that very moment that I was going to earn myself a scholarship. And, you know, like
wow.
that year, I ended up scoring 12 goals, and I had like, I think 8 assists. And I ended up being the leading scorer and the freshman national player of the year. And so that, when they told me that I was a freshman national player of the year, was, you know, one of the coolest things, because technically, like, you're the best freshman in the whole country in Division I. And from going from that position of like, man, I don't have money to pay for tuition, I have to tell my parents this and they have to pay for it, I don't know where they're gonna get the money, to like, I earned that scholarship. Obviously, it wasn't like, okay, you're a freshman national player of the year, you're gonna get a scholarship. It was like, the coach was like, all right, how are we gonna, what can we do to keep you here? Because there was some interest to go like to MLS from teams after my freshman year. But, you know, that's what I'm saying, where there's that low and that high. And so it's not always like, you know, people always see the goals and the highlights, but before that, and even sometimes through that, there's difficult moments that you have to go through. And I think those difficult moments are the ones that make you grow and help you become the person that you are.
Most definitely. And let's transition now to the MLS. Seattle Sounders with their amazing fans, you know, and the atmosphere there. And once again, I remember I want to say it's a Monday night when you got your call and a hat trick. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you know, the buzz head. So it was just the moment of like, that's our guy. That's our Alisal Trojan right there. Gives me chills just remembering that day. Give us some experiences there, some conversations, some talks. And
I mean, just leading to that game, I had scored my first professional goal that a couple of weeks prior to that. And it was actually against Osvaldo Sanchez, which he's like a Mexican national team, like legend. And so I think people look to the hat trick, but I looked to that first goal because it gave my first professional goal, because it gave me the confidence to believe in myself that I could succeed in this league. And again, that was my third year as a professional player. And so it wasn't like something that, you know, I came into this league and I started scoring goals. No, I had some hardships. I had some situations where, you know, like there's a lot of uncertainty if I was going to be able to continue to be on this team, because it's a very competitive team. That's a team that, you know, they'll go and buy these big stars. They'll pay big money to bring them to Seattle. And so, yeah, for me, it was challenging first 2 years. And that third year was kind of like a culmination of all those 2 years of hard work. And, it was just the way I describe it is it's almost like it happened and then all of a sudden it was just done.
Yeah.
And I just remember having the conversations afterwards where like a ton of people were trying to interview me from like ESPN Deportes. I remember Coach Sadie Smith even pulled me to the side. It's like, hey, I know like you probably have like this idea of like what national team you're going to play for, but I want you to just focus in on this team right now. And so like those are the kind of like conversations after that hat trick, just because I felt like I was in such good form. And yeah, man, those are kind of like the things that kind of stick with me after that hat trick. And obviously sharing it with my family, with my friends, with my community back home, hopefully making them proud. Because I do remember this. It was like a banquet for Alisal High School for our soccer team. It was my senior year. And I made this promise to them too. I told them that wherever I went, like I was going to represent Salinas to the best of my ability. And I think to this day, that's a promise I've kept to myself and I've kept to the Salinas community. And I plan to do that to my final days.
Yeah, no, you definitely have. And once again, there's been no disappointments because we're all fans, as I said earlier. When you were in the MLS and your current professional team, the New Mexico United in the USL, you always found time to give back to the community. What inspired you to get involved and to give back and to help others, especially the youth?
I think there's a big need in Salinas, California for positive role models, especially in the East Side community. Obviously, having coaches, I think, are some of the mentors that we have growing up. But I always remember hearing Ramiro Corrales' name. I remember watching Ismael Ibarra, like hearing his name. I remember just there weren't a lot of role models in my neighborhood. And so for me to be able to maybe be that individual who went to college and played soccer at a very high level and to maybe give kids the idea that they can do it too, for me, it's something that I want to continue to share with those kids because, like I said, I don't think there's enough positive role models. Obviously, you can look to your parents and see that the work that they do. And I think kids should admire their parents a lot more, but obviously at the end, while you're in their house, they're your parents, you're always going to have like this kind of like weird dynamic of like, they're my parents. And that's how I look at them all the time.
Yes.
But I will say like Seattle provided such amazing opportunities to give back to the community. And that's where I kind of learned the platform that we have as athletes to be able to just give back to our fans. Like you said, in Seattle, we got close to 35,000 people at each game. To have that many people support a team, in such like the second year of its existence, and for them to be able to be so encouraging and supportive, I just wanted to be around that environment as much as I could. And one of the ways that I was able to do that was with the events they held throughout the whole city of Seattle. And for me, seeing the impact that we had, it was so cool. And so that's what's kind of driven me to continue to do that everywhere I go. It doesn't matter how big or small our fan base is. Every opportunity I get to go out and just kind of be a positive influence, for me, that's a beautiful thing.
What's been your proudest moment as an athlete?
As an athlete, man, I think that coming to New Mexico was one of the best decisions that I've made in terms of my career. Just to a little bit of like information on it. Like this team last year was the first year of its existence, and you could feel that there was something special going on here in New Mexico with the CEO, with our coach, with the people in the front office, how hard they were working, and we get. Last year we were averaging like close to 14,000 people at each game, and this is the first year in this league, and we were top in the league. And to see the impact that it's had in this community in terms of just like the hope and happiness that it brings to people, the togetherness. For me, that's been one of the coolest things to be a part of, because it's been the first year. In Seattle, I was there in the second year. That was cool too. But to do it from the very beginning and doing it while we're winning, and really, I think we're competing at a very high level. I think we're giving people something that they're very proud, they can be proud of. And I don't know if you've ever been in Albuquerque, like these people are proud people. And so for us, we're just trying to reflect, their identity. And so it's been really cool to be a part of it. And, that's one of the best decisions in terms of my career. Another one was, I don't know if you know this, but in 2018, I was a player coach for the Seattle, it was the Seattle 2 team, which is their second team. And so in this whole year, I was coaching like the U15 as an assistant for the academy. I was playing for the second team, and I had opportunity to train with the first team. So if you talk about like nostalgia, like I was training on the same field that I trained like 3 or 4 years ago prior to like elsewhere. But for me to be able to have that year was something that I really can't explain, because when you think about being embedded in the culture of a team, I was working with kids, the academies, like sometimes even as young as 12 years old. I was playing with the up and coming young talent, which some of them were already signing professional contracts at like 16, 17 years old. And then I was training with the first team from time to time and seeing what they were doing, and just kind of seeing the whole culture of this organization, and being a part of every kind of like sector for me was really, really special.
Wow. So, Ganas is the name of our show, and you exemplify that perfectly as an inspiration, local, homegrown, professional athlete giving back to their community. Podcast is kind of like about you. That's what we are about. And you are constantly volunteering, demonstrating through your commitment, of course, and your actions. But what advice would you give to our podcast listeners, especially the parents, right? Campesinos, los papás, they're listening when it comes to this topic of ganas, because they might have kids, or to our young listeners out there aspiring to be a future college or professional soccer player, but they think, maybe my mom didn't do it. I don't have an uncle. Nobody has been how can I do it, right? So what advice would you have for them, when it comes to following your heart?
Yeah, and I think one of the most impactful things in my life was having the support of my dad and my mom to play soccer. And they told me this in terms of especially education. They said, as long as you're in school, we will work to provide anything you need to get you through school, even if it's for us to get into debt. Thankfully, they didn't have to do that with me, because I was able to earn a scholarship. But I remember that they just supported me in anything I decided to do. Even when I decided to play basketball, which my dad wasn't very happy about.
I remember that.
When I decided to play football, that my dad wasn't very happy about, they still supported me and they went to the games. And I think being there for your kid, even if it's in the sidelines, just being there for them, I think makes the biggest impact, because kids remember that. Like, they remember if you're around. And for me, they were always there. And so if you can do that for your kids, I think that's going to have the biggest impact in them.
I tell you, it's you sound so much like me, because I, as the athletic director of Alisal High School, and when I give my presentations and my parent meetings, that's my favorite part of the entire. I'll talk about all these courses they got to do and classes they got to take or requirements to play a sport. But when I'm talking to the parents, and I always finish with, just tell your kids you love them. Let them know how proud you are of them. Let them know that you expect effort and ganas, right? Not that, don't put the pressure on you expect 5 goals or else you're a bust. Don't do that. Just and finally your presence. Just be there. We don't want your money. We don't need your And if you have trouble paying to get in, just let me know. And that's not going to be an obstacle for you not to go to the games. But if you could just go watch your kids play, that's simple. It'll go a long way. And you know,
and I will say this, I also want to be mindful that parents have to work long hours. And
of course.
They can't be there. But for me, I'm just saying what made a big difference in terms of what my parents did for me is that every chance that they were able to make it to a game, they were there. And obviously they were screaming. And like you said, sometimes I don't know if the pressure is all that great, but just the fact that they were there, like for me, made a big difference. And like I would say, like, tell them that you love them and just being there, because I really do think that our youth doesn't hear that enough.
Especially in the Latino culture, right?
Yeah. And it's very important that we know that we matter and that we're loved and that people care about us. And I think that's something that's missing in this world. And one of the reasons why the world is the way it is right now is because a lot of people don't feel loved and feel like they don't matter. And so if we could change something, it'd be that, you know, we just treat each other with kindness and love each other. And, you know, if we admire somebody, tell them that you admire them, tell them why you admire them. And I think, like you said, we need this in our community and we need this in this country and the whole world, to be honest.
Yeah, man, I'll second that. And so we can stay here for hours to be talking because there's so much to talk about. As we wrap up our podcast, and this next segment is it's a pretty cool segment, part that we creatively thought of. It's our carne asada talk time. And so, you know, we're just backyard barbecuing, you know, putting on some arrachera back on the grill. And we're going to throw some questions at you. And we just want you to rapid fire answer them. Okay. And so just whatever comes to mind first. Twitter or Instagram?
Instagram.
Oh, okay. What's your favorite Netflix show? Either in the past or now, past or present?
Right now, I'm just watching the Twilight Zone on HBO Max.
Oh, okay.
Netflix. I don't watch. But
you're not a Netflix guy? Okay. Salsa or cumbias to dance?
Probably banda.
Banda. That wasn't one of the options, but okay. Comedy, romantic, or horror movies?
Comedy. I like a good rom-com, so if you could combine the romantic and comedy.
There we go. Menudo or pozole?
Pozole. If it's vegetarian, I don't eat meat.
Oh, okay. Interesting. And did that diet start a while ago, or is it just recent?
Like 4 or 5 years ago, yeah.
And what caused you that? What caused that movement or that change?
Just cruelty of animals, and just kind of, I know that if you eat more plants, like your body is going to be better. And so I try to eat as many fruits and veggies as I can on a regular basis.
And that's why you look in such phenomenal shape, you know, at this point in your life. Keep it up. Good job. And here we go. Final one. Favorite book you've read and recommend to our youth?
To the youth.
Or our listeners.
To the youth. I will recommend Mind Gym. And this is a sports psychology book, especially for the athletes that want to take their game to the next level. I think there's a lot of barriers in our minds that kind of limit us to reach another level. And I think I really think this book helped me make the jump from college to the professional and to be able to kind of play at that level, because I think sometimes we think like people are talented and people work really hard, but then there's another aspect to it, is like, how mentally tough are you? And I think that's what separates sometimes like the good athlete, the average athlete, from the great athlete. And so Mind Gym, I really recommend it, especially for the athletes that are watching this or listening to this.
Okay. Wow. It's been an amazing interview having David Estrada on our show. Thank you for taking the time to be here, and good luck the continued season. Much success and good health. We wish you.
I just want to say, acknowledge you and thank you for everything that you do for the youth. Obviously, like I said, you being my coach is one of the reasons why I love basketball, and I know that you're doing amazing things with the varsity basketball team out there. And I always see you being in the community. I see that you have a beautiful family with kids that I know are going to do amazing things. And so I appreciate you giving back to our community and continuing to serve those in that community, because you are one of the few positive role models I had growing up. And, I appreciate you, Coach Go.
Igualmente. Thank you, David. And that's our show today. We'd like to thank David Estrada, professional soccer player, for taking the time out of his busy schedule to be with us on our podcast. From our GBA family to yours, continue to lead with ganas.
My heritage is deep in my veins, blood of a king, lot different than most. I come from a long line of hustlers, we dig from the dirt, no need to boast. My heritage taught me to fight, they moving up ranks while they busting their back. My heritage made me a wolf, I'm ready for battle as I lead my pack. My head held high cause I'm proud of my roots, my heritage. It gave me a boost to the top, now unfair that we running from the cops. Now this is America, don't sound surprised. They go on the news and spread it with lies. Truth is that evil's in different forms. The rich can get richer, bro, it's a norm. History repeats itself, that's how it goes. Trump signing bills, and I call it Jim Crows. What's up, it's the fan, we still got each other. I trust in my neighbor, just like my brother. Our heritage taught us the power of unity. We always on top as we got community. And I take that over money any day. We stick together, our problems gonna fade away. My heritage taught me when there's a will, there's a way. We need to find that way. My heritage, my heritage, my heritage. It taught me to hustle. My heritage, my heritage, my heritage. It taught me to fight. My heritage.